Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going in Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to. On today's episode, finally, Larson, after 2 months or so. 2 months or so. My goodness gracious.
Well, actually, no. It was since shortly after Cody won the Rumble. So closer to 3.5 months.
Oh, my goodness gracious. After that much time,
That
Cody
much months.
Rhodes versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, the big pivot that everybody was talking about in this what is this documentary that's supposedly
that's supposed to come out at some point.
this Phantomware documentary that's supposed to come out. Well, we got some vaporware. Thank you. That is what I was trying to find. This documentary is supposed to be coming out about Road to WrestleMania, the big pivot. Well, we got more of a picture here about it, thanks to a pretty lengthy quote from Brian Gewirtz, The Rock's #1 guy, and a quote from Cody Rhodes himself, which is all pretty interesting stuff. So we're going to talk about that on the show today. Also, of course, we've got our Smackdown review as well, including some pretty surprising outcomes at the Queen of the Ring tournament. So we're going to talk about that and what the road looks like coming up with the pay-per-view coming up this coming weekend. Of course, we're going to be live both for Saturday morning, King and Queen of the Ring, and Sunday evening, AEW's Double or Nothing, the 5-year anniversary of AEW's first event.
First show, first official show, yeah.
5 years, man. My goodness.
I saw something on social media that there's already been more episodes of Dynamite than there was Monday Night Nitro, or it's getting close to that.
I've been keeping up on that a little bit. Already at this point in the run of Nitro, it was in deep into the Vince Russo woods. It was the lineups. It was like The Wall versus, I don't know, Lodi or something like that. Like a bunch of weird Prince.
Nitro started in '96 and ended in 2001. So
what was Prince Iakea's name afterwards? It was like the artist formerly known as Prince Iakea or something like that. Yeah. It was like he was like main eventing Nitros at that point. It was pretty bad.
It was.
But yeah. Pretty bad. Dynamite's still going at some point, either in the summertime or fall. Maybe we'll get a new deal and they'll be on for another 5 years and
5, 10, 15, 20 years. Who knows?
Could be.
Who knows? Anyways, let's talk about this stuff about Rock, Roman, Cody, how it all came together and how the pivot happened. So, during an appearance on the Ringer Wrestling Show, Brian Gewirtz, former writer for WWE, current collaborator, Dwayne Johnson, talked about the creative process behind the setup for Rock versus Roman on that episode of Smackdown, and the pivot that followed after fans rejected the idea of Cody giving up his Mania spot for The Rock. These transcripts come to you from Cultaholic. That's what Brian Gewirtz had to say.
This is pretty mind-blowing stuff, man.
It's interesting, and I don't know how they thought this was going to go over, even if it went as planned. So, Gewirtz says the following, quote, "I will say, and again, I will say this is my opinion, I will say Cody is a human being who is genuine and real, and he wears his heart and emotions on his sleeve. And I will say, in Alabama, certainly, even if you tell me, dude, that will never work. That's stupid to even propose it. But the idea was supposed to be, again, it's like Nixon-Kennedy debate, or a Nixon-Kennedy debate a little bit, where it's like, if you read the transcript, you're like, oh, Nixon kicked his ass. If you watch the actual footage, you go, it was a sweaty, terrible mess. Because Cody, it was supposed to be in some form like, yeah, fucking A, go get him, Rock. You're going to get your ass kicked, Roman. Let's do this. And kind of this uplifting promo. Instead, he looked like someone shot his dog in the face in the parking lot. Like he said, just look at his expression. And by the way, someone else who even when his team wins sometimes looks forlorn, upset, despondent, Julius Randle. Hey, so, yeah, that I don't think help matters. It might not have changed. It might not have affected anything, but certainly on paper. And by the way, I don't even blame Cody for that because he's real. It's one of the realest people I've ever met. So, yeah, it's like he said what he had to say in the promo, but you couldn't mask what he was really feeling, and I think the fans felt that a lot. I think the fans felt like he doesn't mean a word of this. This is being forced for him to say he's despondent. He's literally doing the Michael Cera, Arrested Development, Charlie Brown walk out of the arena when he's supposed to be on cloud nine. I think that had a lot to do with this. Let's pause here for a second.
Yeah.
I don't know how in any universe, from a creative standpoint, they thought this would go over well. Even
Brother,
if Cody,
it's insane that you literally just took that sentence right out of my head, because that's exactly what I was going to say.
If Cody was basically ripped open his suit and had a Rock shirt on, like literally presenting himself as #1 Rock fan, and with the idea, Rock, you're available to face Roman, I am happy to step aside, give you this spot that I've been trying to get for a whole other year after what happened at WrestleMania. I'm willing to step aside because I, as fan of Rock and wrestling, want to see this match more than. In no universe is that going to go over. None.
In no universe could this be effectively conveyed by Cody Rhodes. This couldn't be effectively conveyed by Daniel fucking Day-Lewis. I don't care how good of an actor you are. In no universe would this material work. I don't know how this was pitched to Cody. I mean, we're about to talk about a little bit, like we get some sense of it.
Yeah.
But this isn't even a matter of, I would think, I'm Cody Rhodes. As the performer, I want to win this because it's good for my career. What is this dog shit you're trying to serve me? Like, I'm supposed to effectively communicate this as my character? How am I supposed to do that? It doesn't make any sense in any way, shape, or form.
No. If anything, it would have been way worse for him to come out and be super enthusiastic about the whole prospect of it. Because people have been like, what the hell? This makes, at least when he comes out and he's forlorn, you could tell he's not exactly comfortable with it.
He's conflicted about this decision.
Yeah, then okay, all right. Well, maybe there's a story here, and they pivoted seemingly. And in the end, I think it's going to come out to be a much better long-term story than just doing Rock Roman at WrestleMania 40. But if it's a situation where Cody is supposed to do this super enthusiastic type deal, and instead, whether it was him being real or realizing this bullshit ain't gonna work, I got to add some dimension to it. It lessened the what the hell is going on factor a bit. But I remember watching that, seeing it on social media before actually watching. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Why would he do this?
And here's the thing. I think Brian Gewirtz has within pro wrestling, he's got a good resume. He was responsible for a lot of the more quality stuff during the Attitude and Ruthless Aggression era. He left right before it became crap. I think he left like in 2010 or something, the guest host stuff, And so like, I appreciate the man's resume. I think that he's good at what he does, but if it was his idea or The Rock's idea or somebody else's idea on how to approach this story, my God, this was a misfire. And here's the thing also, I don't even necessarily think, and I'm not saying it wouldn't be tricky as hell and I don't have the answer. I don't think it's an impossible task to somehow get from Cody winning the Rumble to Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania. I don't know that it's an impossible task, but this ain't the way to do it. This is the exact opposite thing of the right way to even try to do it. Okay, here's the thing, Cody. This is our grand twist in your story is you're just going to give your spot to The Rock and be super happy about it. Like, try to give me some plot twists and turns. The Rock is now on the board of directors at TKO. He can exercise some power here. Maybe we can go that route and screw Cody over even further and really put his thumb down. And then we got to wait another year. We could do it at SummerSlam or something like that. But it's like, no, they just thought that he was supposed to go out there and put on this grand performance and convince everybody that this is the best decision that he's ever made in his life. And he's so happy about this. What the fuck?
It's not possible.
What?
Guys,
possible. You're not even trying now.
No. Let me run this by you because I can't remember how long ago. It was a few weeks ago that I don't even remember the source. I'd have to look it up because we had extensive conversation about it, so I could source it in a second. But generally, the idea, I think it was Meltzer, talking about how it wasn't exactly power plays going on backstage, but there was some jockeying for people to.
That's the Meltzer thing, yeah.
Yeah, to get. To advance what they wanted to do effectively. Mm-hmm. And we talked about at the time of, that particular report or Meltzer talking about it, about how it seemed like once the pivot happened up until WrestleMania, it seemed like it was relatively smooth sailing but also at the same time, the possibility of before the pivot. And I think once we get to the quote from Cody here later on, we might be able to discuss it a bit more about the possibility of leading up to the decision, especially the press event in Vegas. You know, how many moving pieces were in play and people jockeying for position to advance their own ideas until ultimately it was decided, no, we're going to do things this way. Cody's keeping the match, Rock's turning heel, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
That may be because someone posted on Twitter today a promo from Cody. Maybe it was the Raw after the Rumble, maybe it was the following week, whatever. We was talking, it must have been the Raw after the Rumble, where he talked about how the last 48 hours have been extremely challenging outside of the ring, and he's thanking the fans for being there for him.
Mm-hmm.
And without context, I remember at the time being like, "What is he talking about? He won the Rumble."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because then he says everything's fine. I'm all right. Nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously things happen outside the ring that affect wrestlers. That's obvious, and you know, it's entirely possible something that you know we weren't aware of. But given this, Cody's quote coming up from Busted Open Radio, if the 48 hours from Rumble Day to that Raw were just a whirlwind of people saying, no, let's do this. No, I want to do this. You know, because really, when you get down to it, they're not in this position if Cody doesn't win the Rumble.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So the decision to have Cody win the Rumble, even knowing at the time, because this is part of what Cody's saying on Busted.
Mm-hmm.
He learned the day of the Rumble, he learned the possibility that Roman could be facing Rock at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, and I understand it would have been messed up anyways, because if probably the other option to win the Rumble would have been CM Punk, he got hurt during the match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
Then you're out of the Royal Rumble with no number one contender for either title in the men's division. And I understand maybe if the situation where Punk realized relatively early, my triceps torn, I shouldn't be winning this. They might have called an audible anyways and had Cody win. Don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
But you have Cody win, and now in hindsight, seemingly defiantly pointing up at Roman, saying, "I'm coming after you."
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
there's a lot to kind of digest and think about. But I guess before we get to the Cody quote, let's finish this from Brian Gewirtz, because he talks about the pivot.
Yeah, I'll continue here.
Sure.
He says this in the conversation, and it's talked about in the doc, but to touch on it here a little bit is we have two choices here. And by the way, so Rock, he communicates normally via voice message. I'm very paranoid about voice messaging. I don't know how to do it. I don't like the sound of my voice if I have to hear it back, so I always text. But also because I got a lot of voice messages from him and I don't want to miss anything, I saved them all. So I saved our conversation from post-Alabama, and yeah, it's essentially, to sum it up, it's like we have two choices here. We can push forward, like WWE in the past has often done, which is like, yeah, let them get it out of their system and eventually we'll do what we need to do. Or we could do something pretty incredible, because we've always have been in terms of putting promos together of like, if I was a heel again, I could have so much fun. I never actually pulled the trigger, but it's also been on the back of Rock's mind as far as like, can we? Is it possible? And he's essentially brought the idea in of, you know what? Let me talk to you about Vegas for a minute, and I'll leave it at that. But it was certainly something like, yeah, a choice needed to be made. Go ahead and push forward, and it'll die down and blah, blah, blah. Or not only react to it, but make it better and create something that the world is just not ready for in a good way. That was the smartest and the thing they could have done, because it was really, really good. I loved the build to WrestleMania once we got past once from Vegas on. Oh, it was good. It was super entertaining, and they made every right decision. And sometimes in the creative process, Larson, you just got to find that thing, and once you find that thing, you go all in on it, and oh man, it can work so well. And sometimes there's a road to get there. And I'm so happy that they didn't do the Vince thing, which 9 times out of 10, and we knew the 1 time out of 10 that they went with Daniel Bryan in the main event, but 9 times out of 10, give them what I want to give them. You know, I know best, that kind of shit.
Yeah.
And they didn't do that here, and I'm so happy for it. And I'm happy that Rock wanted to go heel because he's so good at it. And the whole beating the shit out of Cody and cursing up a storm left and right, that whole scene, that whole build laid the template for a lot of what WWE is now. They're letting their people curse a little bit more. They're letting them get away with a little bit more. They're letting them bleed a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And that is good stuff. It frees them up. And that was a great decision that they made, and they deserve full credit for that. Because that stuff was not going to work. Like having Cody go in there and be like raw rock, and it is a little bit, and I understand within the context of what he's saying. I don't think it's meant to be critical or even condescending, but to say I think Cody went out there and didn't do what he was supposed to do because he's such a real guy, I think kind of like throws a little bit of shade at the performer, because it's like, what was he supposed to do? Like, I don't know. I don't know how you bring that energy. I just don't know as a performer. How was he supposed to do that?
Well, I mean, I would assume Cody realized as a performer, there's no way, not just me, anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anybody can make this convincing.
Yeah.
Anybody. It's unprecedented, I believe, for anybody to win the Rumble to be like, I'll give it my spot. I know Orton did in the Bray Wyatt feud, but that was a swerve on his part, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know, that was part of his plan to get Bray closer to him so he can just turn on him.
Mm-hmm.
But for someone to, without any motivation other than to see another match happen, I'm going to give up my Rumble spot, or my Rumble win, my Mania spot, because I want this other bout to happen. No. I don't think there's anybody that could. You mentioned Daniel Day-Lewis. No, there's Hollywood actors that could pull that off. It's the motivation just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy.
It is. So let's talk about this Cody quote. Cody quote. Should I say quotey from now on to combine quote and Cody into one word?
Probably not a good idea.
No. Cody talked about when he found out that Rock and Roman might be a possibility at Mania 40 during an appearance on Busted Open Radio, I believe today, saying the following. These transcripts come to you from WrestlingNews.co. One thing that might be revealed in the documentary, it might put things in a different perspective for people, is I find out about the possibility of The Rock versus Roman the day of the Royal Rumble, and I had to leave that room, head up, and make sure no one knew what could possibly happen, and probably one of the more difficult days I've ever had in the wrestling business. But also, how could you complain about, when you're winning the Rumble, when you're pointing at the sign over 20,000 people in Tampa, it's such a high, such a low.
You know, sadly, I don't know Cody Rhodes personally. But I could only imagine. And again, I don't necessarily think, because, look, there's plenty of people. And if one of your goals in wrestling is to get into wrestling and win championship titles, then cool, good for you. You know, we've always heard it's not about that. It's about making money. It's about the business of it. You're there to make money. But if anybody is serious about the creative process in pro wrestling, Cody Rhodes in a spot where it just makes sense from a business perspective, from a creative perspective, to finish that fucking story at 40. Not put this off any longer.
Nope.
Because you're going to kill the crowd.
Yep.
And, you saw what happened, for example, with Roman Reigns and The Rock at the 2015 Rumble, where the people were just shitting all over it. You saw what the people had to go through to get Daniel Bryan into the spot that he was in. And there are some things where it's just from a storyline perspective, it just makes sense. And I know in wrestling, anything can happen, and you can change, and the card subject change, et cetera, et cetera. But it's like, I get it, Rock Roman, hey, that's a big deal. But just like in 2017, when they had a great story between Jericho and Kevin Owens, which everybody loved, and they had to relegate that, I think, to the United States Championship. It was the Universal Championship, and they had Goldberg beat Kevin Owens in 33 seconds. Just to get Brock versus Goldberg on the card for the title. It's like, okay, well, you're taking something that, it's big box office, but you got to ask yourself, okay, creatively speaking, what are we doing here? And I can understand that to a degree, but this right here, when you have Cody Rhodes, who creatively and box office wise was becoming a really big deal, man, I don't know about that. What I'm really curious about is the input of the tribal chief, Roman Reigns. Yeah. Where would he have landed on all this? What would have been his position? Because it's not like that guy's sitting there with no stroke. As we know, Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman, they got a lot of influence in the company. So I'm kind of curious what that would have been, what his input on that would have been. And I wonder if this documentary is going to shed any light or shine any light on that.
That's a good question. And I wonder how much of the decision to go forward with Rock Roman, I'm guessing a lot, came from above Triple H. Once Rock made himself available, he struck a deal with TKO to be a member of the board. If it was a situation where TKO Endeavor was really pushing the idea, let's do this now. And so you have that aspect of the company pushing for it. I'm sure Triple H had his plans that he wanted to follow through with. Obviously, Cody was walking into the day of the Rumble under the assumption that he was winning the Rumble and probably facing Roman at WrestleMania, most likely winning.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I'm not saying he was told outright that was the plan, but I would imagine that was his assumption.
Yeah.
And so you have all these different people and entities within the company, and then you have Rock and Brian Gewirtz. I'm sure, if they were told, hey, from TKO, you get the match with Roman this year, they were probably saying, all right, let's proceed forward with that. Whether they're actively lobbying for it or not, who knows? Mm-hmm. But, going back to the Meltzer thing, which at the time we kind of like, all right, at least from the pivot forward, it doesn't seem to be the case.
Yeah.
Prior to the pivot, it's entirely possible there was various parties lobbying for different outcomes.
Yeah. And I mean, in this case, the thing that I do appreciate about how they did pivot is that it does seem like, and you can't get the business without the creative and vice versa. They inform each other. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't seem like in this case, it does seem like they were trying to do what's best. What do the fans want to see? What's going to get, because ultimately, like, the biggest box office is what do the fans want to see? What's going to get in the most amount of fans? What's going to draw the biggest interest? And they're able to find a really great sort of middle ground here that I think maximized everything.
Yeah.
But it is like anything else. It's a creative process, and wrestling is a unique entertainment form that it's not like somebody's walking in with a completed movie script that already has a director and actor attached to it. And then, we're going to change the finish to this movie. And this has happened on movie sets. I'm trying to remember what movie I was reading about recently where, Star Trek motion picture. They were filming that without knowing what the goddamn ending was. It's like, this shit has happened, but such a monumental change to arguably the biggest WrestleMania of all time.
Yeah. Wasn't that a story with Casablanca as well, as they were writing the movie as they were making it?
I think because Casablanca was one of those weird things where it was kind of, that was not meant to be like a special film, for whatever reason, the finish or whatever, the end of the movie, it captured such a zeitgeist for whatever reason among cinephiles and whatnot. Yeah. But it wouldn't surprise me if that kind of shit happened a lot back then. And then they just sort of captured magic. Yeah. As opposed to a lot of movies, which didn't. But yeah, I don't know. Pretty interesting stuff. It's like in that Star Trek book that I got, they were talking about how, like, they were filming exteriors of the Enterprise while it was being built. So they were filming shots of like the front of the model while the back was still being constructed.
That's funny.
Which is nuts. Which is absolutely
that is crazy.
Nuts. Yeah,
that is crazy. Wow.
Oh, Maggie says the ending to Casablanca pissed me off. Wow. Oh, wow, that's a great finish. What a great finish that is. A couple false finishes, and then they went home.
Yeah. Anyways, before we talk SmackDown, Steve, you had something you wanted to try today, yes?
Well, it was revealed on SmackDown, Larson, that, of course, Cody Rhodes, speaking of, and Logan Paul was no longer going to be title for title. You and I had thought about, okay, well, how are they going to get out of this? And Logan Paul pulling the lawyer card had the contract amended.
Always an effective wrestling story beat when you utilize a lawyer.
Not my favorite, to be honest with you.
Same.
But he had the contract altered, the agreement altered, so that only Cody's title would be on the line, not the United States Championship. Not surprising. They had to wiggle their way out of this. I was, maybe just getting my hopes up on the whole champ situation with Cody. But one thing that a lot of people on the internet have noticed over the past month or so, 6 weeks or so, even maybe in advance of Cody winning that title, was WWE has started to drop the word Universal from the Undisputed Championship. They used to have the Universal and they had the WWE, and then they put them together.
Yeah.
And so it a lot of people out there are saying, it seems like WWE starting to retire the Universal name, which would mean at some point they're just going to simply drop the Universal title. It's going to be like the old WWE World Heavyweight Championship once the lineage got infused in the WWE title.
Yeah.
So to mix things up a little bit, I thought, Larson, I'd drop a pop quiz on you.
Sure.
It's not really a pop quiz because, as you alluded to when we got this started, I told you about this beforehand, but I trust that you have not done any actual research. I saw a thread on Twitter, which I'm going to bring up now. Actually, I'll just look on Wikipedia here. And I'm going to drop a pop quiz on you and see if you can give me the lineage of the Universal Championship from, and I'll just give you the first one, of course, because we were there.
Finn Balor. We were there for that. I know who won the Universal Championship for the first time. We were there. We were there when the crowd booed that belt. We were there for it.
Yeah. So I'm going to see if you can name every champion and
every Universal champion.
Every Universal champion from Finn Balor to current Cody Rhodes.
All right. So Finn Balor won it at SummerSlam 2016.
Very good. Correct.
Next day on Raw, he announced the tore up his shoulder. He had to vacate. And I believe Kevin Owens won it after that.
Correct. Remember Triple H and him have that little conversation.
We never knew what that was about. That'd have been interesting to find out.
And he won. Triple H won off a pedigree.
I know, help from Triple H. After that, you just mentioned Goldberg beats Kevin Owens for it.
See, look at that. Paying attention during the episode. I'm dropping little hints during the episode.
And then, as you also mentioned, Brock beat Goldberg for it.
That's correct.
WrestleMania 33, I believe.
That's correct.
And that was Brock's super long reign.
Very good. It was.
I think it was Seth that beat him at WrestleMania 35 for it. Actually, am I missing one in between?
Yes. Yeah. Roman Reigns.
Oh, he did beat him for it.
Beat him at SummerSlam 2018.
That's the one I
for that title. And of course, Roman, his recurrence of cancer, of leukemia, popped up.
Yeah, that's right. Forgot about that. So then Seth, and then Bray beat Seth for it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, hold on a second. After Roman Reigns vacated it, you'll remember this moment when he won it, when this man won it, because he potatoed Braun Strowman at Crown Jewel 2018.
Oh, yeah, it was Brock, yeah.
Brock, yeah.
Yeah. I assumed that Brock got it back because then Seth beat him for it.
Correct, yeah.
And then Bray beat Seth for it.
That happened a little bit later.
Really?
Brock won it again after he won Money in the Bank.
That's right.
Yeah. And then at SummerSlam,
Seth got it back. All right.
Very good.
And then Bray got it.
Mm-hmm, correct.
And then Goldberg got it.
Very good.
Bray. And then Braun beat Goldberg for it.
Very good.
And then I think Bray beat Braun for it.
Very good, yeah.
Did Bray not win it from Braun?
Yeah, no,
okay,
Bray
and
won
then
it
Roman
from Braun.
beat Bray in that triple threat match with Braun and Bray, and then Roman had it for 3 years, and then Cody beat him for it.
Very good. Very good.
No, it wasn't that good because there's that whole spell I didn't get.
Brock won. It's basically the Brock title. He had it.
It was for a stretch.
A very long time. Obviously not the 1,300 plus days that Roman had it, but there was that 500-day period when Brock had it where he was rarely around. And here's the thing.
Yeah.
Roman having it rarely around is different because the bloodline was there. They were telling some really awesome stories. Like, it made sense. Brock just came off like a dude who was just like, yeah, well, Whenever you can afford to give me some money, I'll hang out maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Because even when Roman wasn't there, the specter of Roman Reigns still kind of loomed over the show. Because the bloodline was still there,
Yeah.
Anyways, that's over with. Now let's talk SmackDown, Steve.
Yeah, let's talk SmackDown.
You mentioned earlier the fact that after announcing it the last week, having graphics up on social media that this is going to be a title for title match, they decided, no, we're not going to do this.
Yeah.
And I understand they put themselves in a pickle potentially where they announce something and be like, oh, wait, we can't do this. And if that's the case, do they not think about these things?
I honestly don't know that this wasn't just sort of the plan. Like, Cody assumes, this is going to be title for title. There was never a graphic that said, winner takes all.
I believe there was. I believe Cody retweeted it on Twitter. It was title for title, I believe.
I know he said, Cody said that if he wins it, so like the assumption was made. I don't know that it was ever like, oh, this is title for title, and they're going to.
It's literally his pinned tweet right now. He says, for all the gold, here's the graphic. Undisputed WWE champion Cody Rhodes goes head-to-head with U.S. champion Logan Paul in a champion versus champion match at King and Queen of the Ring. From WWE.
Okay. And I know this is being, whatever, nitpicky here. Doesn't say, the graphic does not say winner take all. Champion versus champion is factual. They're both champions. Doesn't say title for title.
I know, but
Cody says that. Cody says it, not WWE's Twitter account.
Isn't Cody's word gospel though?
Oof. Don't make me answer that question.
I'm posing that question.
I'm not trying to lose this debate, but at the same time, I don't want to say that about Cody. Yeah, and look, in kayfabe, Nick Aldis was expecting this to be the original contract was drawn up, title for title. I'm just saying, in terms of this is my point.
Title versus title, yeah.
No, this is my point though. WWE proper didn't have a graphic where they're advertising this is going to be the thing, which makes me think this was the original plan. Everybody was going to say this is going to be title for title, but they don't actually advertise the damn thing because they know that Logan Paul is going to come back and say this isn't going to be the thing. That's my point. There was no big Photoshop graphic as winner take all because they knew this in advance. I don't think this was a creative pivot.
I understand that. And if as a story beat, it's kind of a lame story beat. I'll be honest with you.
It is, yeah. Eric here in YouTube chat. They just did it for Logan and get the heel heat. That's what they did.
That's lame. I feel like it's kind of a lame attempt at heel heat. And it's not even like I had high expectations. Oh, I'm really looking forward to this title versus title match. It's again, and yes, it was explicitly stated in the graphic that it was winner take all. Obviously not. Evidently, Cody was under that assumption.
He was, yeah.
When you have a champion versus champion title with both belt, that as was pretty much set up at during the previous week. And then pull the rug out from under you just so Logan Paul can get some heel heat by introducing Lawyer at the storyline, which never works out well.
Yeah, smiling Lawyer too. That guy was just happy to be there.
Yeah, it's just this kind of stuff just doesn't work for me. It just doesn't.
Yeah, I agree. It doesn't work for me either. I don't think, I think Logan Paul I think he's a pretty damn good heel the way he is. Well, okay, let me ask you this. What would have been your preference? Logan, just from the outset saying, last week, him just saying, no, I'm not putting my title on the line. You're mistaken. Yeah. Do an entire segment where he says, here's my new contract. You're right. I kind of feel like it's a bit of a waste of time.
It is a waste of time because literally last week, Cody ends the segment saying, I'm going to win the U.S. title and that's going to make me a Grand Slam champ. And at no point during that whole thing, Logan's like, no, that's not how it's going to be. You go a whole week. You have your fan base who's under the assumption this is going to be both titles are going to be on the line, and then just not going to happen.
Yeah,
I think it's kind of lame.
Yeah. They can all be bloodline stories, I guess. But yeah, it'd be nice. I mean, I'm sort of torn on it. Like I've seen plenty of comments like here and at WrestleJuice. I do the hot take thing over WrestleJuice as well as the Friendo Club stuff that we do. But like one of the things, of course, is when I've asked recently, it's like, well, Cody's stuff has been kind of underwhelming. And it's like, well, it's been number one. It's only been 6 weeks, and he did deliver a fantastic match against AJ Styles. So like, let's keep things in context here. But yeah, like the stories haven't been as twisty and turny as maybe they could be. Logan Paul to me, and I know you had sort of predicted this, but like Logan Paul to me was kind of an outside the box choice for his next challenger. And it's one that I like because I think, again, the match is going to be really, solid, really good. But yeah,
it's interesting that with Cody right now, WWE is employing a bit of some AEW creative philosophy because they're using the bear as the story to motivate, which will probably be a pretty good match. I'm saying that tongue in cheek somewhat, but it's just interesting.
No lies spoken there, my friend. I watched Collision this week.
Yeah.
You know, I had the funniest conversation with one of our friendos. And I want to see if I can find this comment because it really did make me laugh. But you know, okay, here we go. Perfect. So you know how you can after the fact in the comments you can drop, I think it's called like a thank you chat or something like that.
Yeah.
They give you kick you some bucks like a super chat, but it's after the fact. So this person, Sean Martin, gave us $5, right, which is a good amount of money. So thank you very much, and I appreciate you watching the show. But he says this, maybe, and honestly, no lies spoken here. He says, maybe you two Mensa rejects should pay attention to Collision because then you would have heard of Brian's promo about why he is in Team AEW. Also, you'd know Pac and Jay White and the Guns are feuding currently. Remember, we're like, oh my gosh, Pac needs to be in that match. Well, no, he's feuding with somebody, and that's happening on Collision. So they're probably Jay White versus Pac probably going to be at the pay-per-view.
Or it could be the trios. They can reform Death Triangle.
Yeah. Because they've talked about that. Yeah. But and then this guy says, so let me get this straight. You're trying to make fun of him. You paid $5. I could have done that for free. And he says they don't respond when it's free. Because I responded to it. Look, it's all in good fun. I don't care.
Yeah.
And it's all wrestling opinions, but I don't know. Yeah. So I watched Collision this week, you know. I mean, I fast forward through a lot of the match stuff, but I got all the story beats.
No, I saw the bit with Danielson explaining why he was in the match, that he thought the Elite Young Bucks, they've gone too far this time.
I had not seen that.
So I mean, I didn't see it as when we were doing the show last week, but since I have seen that, I'm like, all right, at least they're putting some effort into some semblance of motivation why he's in the match.
Yeah.
But I think the overall argument is there is, from a storyline perspective, stronger candidates to be in that match. Not that there's no reason for people involved to be in the match.
No, I don't disagree. I think our point stands, but for us to be so willfully ignorant about somebody who's clearly in a feud right now on their major show that we've elected not to watch, I don't know. I'm fine with that. I'll take the criticism.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not upset about that at all.
Speaking of people giving us money, we got a recurring Friendo Club setup member here on YouTube, David Matushik.
Thanks,
dropping us another membership here. Says, isn't it hard to believe that the Cody revelation is as interesting as the Armin van Buren remix of Bon Jovi's Keep the Faith?
Wow.
What does that mean? Oh, man, that's great. Thank you very much for your membership, though. And
thank you.
David gets to appreciate. Oh, dude, did we get that bonus episode up, Larson?
It's up. It's just waiting for a thumbnail.
Oh, okay. All right. Didn't know that. So I'll get on that today. And the new episode of FriendoCast will be dropping today. And that's, of course, exclusive to Friendo Club setup members. You get access to our bonus episodes, our back catalog of all the FriendoCast, where Larson and I sit here and never talk about wrestling, only about non-wrestling stuff. Also, you get access to our question threads for all the episodes. And, of course, you get access to the Big Blue Predictions Challenge. That's right. John Hosey, our three-time predictions champion, is putting Big Blue back up on the line. Has anybody ever repeated?
No.
I don't think anybody's ever repeated, right?
Never happened.
Retained.
John Hosey is the only person to win it more than once.
Okay, yeah. So he's going to be trying to be the first person to ever retain his title after putting it on the line, both Double or Nothing and King and Queen of the Ring are going to be the events for this new week of champions we got coming up this weekend. And you can participate and become the new Big Blue Predictions champion of Going in Raw if you sign up for the Friendo Club setup. We offer 2 ways to sign up. Number 1, youtube.com/Steven Larson. It's $5 a month. Or you go to patreon.com/Steven Larson and click on the Friendo Club setup there. It's also $5. You basically get the same stuff. Access to the bonus episodes, the prediction challenge, and the question threads. So be sure to check that out. If you're watching us live or if you're watching us after the fact, after we've already filmed this, hit that thumbs up button. Larson, can you show me what the thumbs up looks like? Look at that right there. Well, it's more of like a side. You don't really see the front. There you go. That's exactly what it looks like right there. That's perfect. So hit that thumbs up. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and the notify bell. It goes a long way towards helping grow Going in Raw. And hopefully everybody joins us. I'm going to interject
here real quick. We got 645 people watching right now, yet only 119 likes.
What? People got a lot on their plate.
Talk about it all the time.
Sometimes they got to be reminded.
It takes half a second to click that like button. You know what I mean?
Now that we've reminded them, maybe they will, Larson.
I hope so.
Yeah.
As always. Try to get at least 200 likes by the time we're done with the show, the live stream of it. And we want to get 50% of the viewership to hit that like button. That means we need more than 300 likes. So please, I'm asking you, all of you, smash that like button. Just make sure if you hit it multiple times, it's an odd number of times. Thank you.
Anyways, also,
I'm done with that.
So boy, oh boy, the internet wrestling community was raging over Tiffany Stratton's loss, perfectly logical loss, mind you, to Bianca Belair. In the Queen of the Ring tournament. I understand she's a fast rising star, but Bianca walking into this with, sort of still nursing that knee, and then Tiffany going after it. I thought that Tiffany looked great in this match, but hey, Bianca Belair is one of the most powerfully booked wrestlers on planet Earth. And the way they've been booking, and I kind of appreciate the consistency. The way they've been booking these NXT call-ups is basically like you're kind of as powerful as like an upper mid-carder. Ilya can beat, who did he beat in the first round? Whoever he beat in the first round. But then Ricochet. But then he loses to main event Jey Uso. Kind of understand that. Makes some sense. By the way, people are going to be really upset when Jey Uso beats Gunther. And so you get Ilya doing that. Carmelo Hayes lost to Cody, lost to Randy Orton, probably pick up a win against a mid-carder sometime soon. Or he did, Baron Corbin. He beat Baron Corbin.
Or maybe someone like LA Knight.
Yeah, I don't know. So we'll talk about that here in a second, because LA Knight, he was getting around backstage. But she picked up the big L against Bianca, so they avoid Bianca versus Jade, because Jade got her first loss since coming to WWE. It was a DQ loss. She got so pissed off that Nia Jax was talking shit to her kid. Nia Jax tried to get her with a chair. Jade took the chair from her, got her with the chair, got DQ'd. What did you think about Jade's first loss in WWE?
We've discussed many times in the past about creatively booking yourself in a corner when you have someone with an undefeated streak. We saw that with Jade to a degree in AEW, where it seemingly they wanted to protect her to such degree that Tony Khan was afraid to even get her in interesting stories.
Yeah.
It was just 3-minute win, 3-minute win. The Nyla Rose story was a lot of fun, where Nyla stole the belt. That was really entertaining.
Yeah, that was fun stuff.
But so many of Jade's stories in AEW were ultimately, we're going to have this match. She's going to win in dominant fashion. And it was all about protecting Jade, which I get, because she should have been a huge star in AEW. She's going to be a huge star in WWE. That being said, Jade didn't take a pin. She didn't tap out. They motivated why she would be so outraged with Nia that she would be willing to take the chair and hit her with it. And then the first loss, I know it's not by pin or submission. She still has that streak. The first loss is out of the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and it's not one that damages her by any stretch. In fact, when I was watching that match, when Jade blocked the chair shot from Nia and hit her with it, the crowd cheered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
The crowd popped for that.
People like when,
and it wasn't until
cool
the refs
shit.
like no DQ. They were like, oh, bogus, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if they really pushed the idea that Nia drove her to the point that she felt that she had to hit her with the chair, I get it. There's a story there. They're trying to tell a story.
I thought the details of the execution of the stuff could have been like, there could have been a little bit more, I don't know, like Nia laid into the kid, which I thought was a great spot, and the kid did a great job. And then there was a bunch of stuff, and then we saw the DQ happen. I kind of think it should have been bang, bang, bang.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You know,
I
right?
agree with that, because then it's like one directly leads to the other. Yes.
On paper, I'm totally fine with it, though. Although my one quibble, and this goes just to pro wrestling in general, shouldn't the attempt at a cheat move be
so you're
grounds?
with Meltzer on this one.
Oh no, did he say that?
Yes, he did.
What did he say?
Seemingly, intent is just as much a reason to disqualify a wrestler as succeeding in what they were aiming to do. But how many times we see someone bring a chair in the ring, take a swing at somebody and miss, and the ref doesn't DQ him? I understand there was contact.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying
in contact in terms of Jade blocking it. So yes, it's nebulous. That's the referee's discretion area, I suppose.
Well, it's like it's almost universal though. Like across pro wrestling, if you swing and miss, you're not DQ'd. It's honestly, and here's the thing, Larson. Shouldn't she get the same sentence for attempted murder as actual murder? You tried to do the damn thing.
I'm not a legal scholar, Steve. I don't know. I don't know. I don't
a
know
legal philosopher. You are not.
I don't know the rationale, the philosophy behind.
Yeah.
The sentencing recommendations for all that stuff. I would need to read up on that to give an educated response.
Yeah. I know where Steve stands without any educating of myself.
Gotcha.
It's attempt. You're trying to do the thing. Just because you fuck it up, what, you get less of a sentence? Come on now. Anyways, that's neither here nor there.
It's an interesting topic to ponder. I'll tell you that.
Hey, maybe Friendo cast this week.
Maybe.
But yeah, man, I think that and on top of that, as some people have noted in the comments too, Jade was a little bit late on the chair, and it actually did make contact. I think that's what made her bleed.
Yeah.
So like Nia probably should have been the one, but I understand what they're doing. I get the story beat, and I'm totally fine with it. And I like that they're pushing on Bianca versus Jade. And I like, there was a backstage segment, I think just on digital, where Jade was like, she said, "Don't let that bitch cheat." and 'cause she's like, that's what she did to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the chemistry between Bianca and Jade. I love that they're holding off on getting these two powerhouses in there against each other. You seem pretty certain. I think I'm there with you, but I like how unpredictable this Queen of the Ring thing is sort of shaken out. I think the men's side is equally as unpredictable because I'm not sure what's going to happen there. We'll talk about that in a second, but let's focus on the women right now. Well, you think it's Bianca?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously, if the story for her through the tournament is nursing that knee injury, that obviously it motivates a loss there, whether it's to Nia or to Io, who I would anticipate advancing to the finals tonight against Lyra Valkyria. I mean, the story, the match with the most story behind it is Io and Bianca.
Sure.
And obviously winning Queen of the Ring is an accolade that Bianca hasn't accomplished yet. It's they're trying to make it a high profile thing, and I think this year they've done a pretty good job by giving the matches time and telling stories through the tournament.
Yeah.
And if they want to elevate the prestige of both the Queen and King of the Ring tournaments, then it makes sense to have a major main event name win the tournament. But then the what follows that should be, what do they get for it? You know, it should be, I mean, yeah, give them the crown, but that should lead to something. Mm-hmm. Is it a title shot? What is it?
That crown looks pretty awesome, though. Boy, they did a good job with the crown this year.
In the Rumble, what is it? You know, like give us what they get along with the crown.
Yeah.
Because then you actually, I mean, yeah, the crown's cool. It looks expensive. But then you have like real stakes in terms of the stories that you're telling.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with any of that. And I think that, especially because they're doing the finals in Saudi Arabia, and they tend to juice those up a little bit, greater.
Well, here's
than
another thing
to
too. Hold on, let me get this point out real quick. Bayley in the last 2 weeks has done interviews about being asked, who do you think is going to win it? And I don't know if it's intentional. Something would tell me this wouldn't be just coincidental that you'd have the women's champion on SmackDown be asked about who their pick is to win Queen of the Ring, unless the idea is the Queen of the Ring winner is eventually going to face Bayley for that title.
It'd be awesome if they made an announcement that that's going to be, because obviously Bayley versus Bianca is a big time match.
Yeah, with a lot of story behind it.
With a ton of story behind it. Yeah, Bianca the entire time has been like, hey, Bayley this, Bayley that. So there's a lot that you can do there. Let's talk about, I think I agree with you. I think Bianca, but I do love the idea that, I don't know, Nia Jax is pretty crafty, they could write that win. Io Sky versus Lyra. Maybe they want to build a new person with Lyra. I kind of doubt that. I think it's going to be Io, but yeah, and on top of that, Io versus Bianca. Oh my God, that match is going to be outstanding. Let's talk about the men really quick, because Carmelo Hayes took the L against Randy Orton, and Bloodline Tama Tonga moves on. And so it's going to be, Randy Orton with an opportunity to, get some vengeance on behalf of Kevin Owens against the Bloodline. Jey Uso versus Gunther, I think, is tonight.
Yeah, I kind of feel like whoever wins that match is winning the tournament.
Who wins tonight?
I mean, it should be Jey, right?
Yeet.
It should be Jey.
It should be Jey. Jey should win the whole damn thing.
They made a point. They made a point last week, I think, on Raw about how Jey had Gunther beat until Jimmy interfered.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I don't think that's coincidental.
Mm-hmm.
So it probably should be Jey. Jey should win. He should win the whole tournament. Yeah. But then the question is he facing Randy Orton in the finals, or is he facing Tama Tonga?
The Bloodline. Well, boy, that's a tough one, because, like I said, it's Saudi Arabia. Randy Orton, they love those legacy guys, so to speak. But the story right there has got to be. Plus, you got the Bloodline out there. You got to give the Bloodline some big wins.
Yeah.
And Jey versus Tama Tonga there in the finals. That's too good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you still find a spot for Randy Orton if you really want him on the card, but boy, that's a good one.
So yeah, I would think it's probably, but again, when it comes to Orton and Tama Tonga, that could go either way. Because you can have Kevin Owens come back and kind of neutralize Bloodline, so Randy wins.
Mm-hmm.
And Randy versus main event Jey Uso, that's a marquee match for a pay-per-view. Let's say Tama Tonga's not, but Tama Tonga is still relatively new to the company. I know he's got the Bloodline behind him, and the story's there. And it's, and they could do a thing where it's Jey versus Tama Tonga, Bloodline's interfering. I don't know how soon Jimmy's coming back. Going to be available to come back from in.
Yeah, I was thinking Jimmy also.
Jimmy runs out there to help Jey. There's a lot of storyline options. It depends if they want to go with star power and have Orton face Jey, or the most interesting story and have Tama Tonga face Jey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And you can maybe have your cake and eat it too. You could still find something for Randy to do. I mean, if this is going to be a real Bloodline thing, you just keep on overbooking this shit, just bring out everybody at King of the Ring finals, and Jimmy returns. Hell, even as Cheeseman here says, Roman returns. For King of the Ring, Roman returns to interfere in the match. That'd be terrible. Anyways, let's go ahead and dive into our actual SmackDown review. I mean, we've talked about a lot of the stuff. We see a lot of people arriving at the arena. LA Knight, yeah.
Bloodline,
Jade, Nia, Randy Orton, Carmelo Hayes. They're all there. Nobody's no-show in this show. It's SmackDown. Kicks off with Bianca Belair versus Tiffany Stratton. As we talked about, Tiffany Stratton, number one, they gave this match a lot of time. Tiffany really working over that knee, and Bianca selling the hell out of it. So much so that she tries for a KOD, can't quite get it. But in the end, Tiffany goes up for a moonsault. Bianca pushes her, gets her off the top rope, which again, really logical storytelling there, because it's a lot easier just to pick somebody off the top and drop the KOD as opposed to deadlift them from, from the mat.
Yep.
Hits the KOD to get the win. Kathy gets in the ring to interview Bianca, asks, is her knee going to be an issue going forward? So I'm not going to lie, it's not 100%, but I didn't become the est by making excuses. I show up and I show out every single time, and the strong est, the rough est itself is the quickest, greatest, best. And next week, injury or not, nothing stopped me from becoming queen of the ring.
Yep. Then we get a recap. It was the match flow from last week's segment with Cody and Logan, where if not explicitly stated, definitely imply that everything was going to be on the line.
Absolutely.
Cody was under that understanding. So, again, you going to quibble with Cody, Steve?
I will say this. Little advice to Cody Rhodes. Little advice. You got to get it in writing first before you just make assumptions. Because as you know, Larson, if you make assumptions...
Make an ass.
Yeah.
You and me when you assume.
I'm glad you said it, because I don't want to say that to Cody. But I will say this.
Well, you just called Cody an ass.
Go to the graphics department and say, we need winner takes all on the thing. If there's any ambiguity, winner takes all. If pen's not put to, because then you can maybe manifest it a little bit. Maybe you can WWE advertise this so our lawyers say this is it's in Photoshop.
It has to happen now.
It has to happen now.
Has to happen. That's the rationale Luca used in NXT.
Yeah.
When Ava was going to pull Tony D from the
I forgot
the Heritage Cup match. He's like, you advertised the match.
Oh yeah, that's right. Now I remember that. Okay.
So then Logan Paul's walking backstage. He opens the door to go in Nick Aldis's office. Yeah, LA Knight walks out, gets in Logan's face, and then Aldis comes out and it's like, all right, Logan, come with me.
Might be a little bit late, but LA Knight's got to beat him for the title, right?
You think so? They've laid a lot of groundwork for that already.
He's the megastar.
He is, yeah. Then we got a Jade Cargill interview. So Byron asked her how she's preparing to face Nia Jax. She says, she's one of the best, irresistible force. But I'm Jade Cargill. She's just in my way. So Bianca steps in, and they have they're really charming together as a team.
You can tell that they just really like each other. You know what I mean?
I know.
Like it's good chemistry right there. It's really enjoyable to see them.
Yeah, the chemistry is really off the charts. So Bianca steps in and Jade says, "Hey, congratulations, great match." And Bianca says it was tough, but it was worth putting Tiffy timeout. And then Jade asks how her knee is, and then Bianca says, "Don't worry, I'll be fine." And if we end up standing across the ring from one another, and Jade's like, "Whoa, let's just take it one match at a time."
Yeah. Yep. Then we're in the Bloodline locker room. Tama Tonga is pacing. Throw your ones up for the Bloodline. That was a really quick one. My goodness.
Well, because I'm waiting for you to try to trick me to keep it up while you mention Cody. I'm not falling for it.
Me?
Do it all the time.
Come on, make those Tama Tonga noises, Larson. Anyway, Solo stands up. He whispers, "Time to go." And then Tama turns to leave. Tongaloa follows, and Heyman says, "Solo, have you talked to him today?" Solo lies out his ass. Says, "All the time, wise man. All the time."
He even smirks at Heyman. It's like, yeah, I'm lying to you, but
lying to his ass.
Oh, it's good. It's good stuff.
You know what Heyman needs to text to Roman Reigns. He needs to text him, "Bring your ass."
Yeah. Then we got an LA Knight interview. Yeah. So Kathy's asking how he feels ahead of his match with Tama Tonga. LA says, "You got to ask me all these personal questions. Let me talk to you."
Yeah.
You talk about King of the Ring. You talk about Tama Tonga. You talk about the Bloodline. Bloodline ain't looking quite like they used to. I don't know half these guys, but old Tommy Tonga. Or do you say Tama? I don't know. This is from the transcription thing.
It looked like Tommy. It looked like Tommy. It sounded like Tommy.
Yeah. Says, I'll tell you what, I try to proofread as I go through watch the show, but sometimes I miss things. Anyways, he says, I tell you what, tonight you can go get yourself introduced to a BFT, and then I'll move on and introduce my head to that crown at King of the Ring. Yeah.
And then Carmelo Hayes steps in. It froze on your face for a second. Yeah.
Carmelo Hayes steps in.
Yeah. So he says, what's up, man? Look, I just wanted to give you the opportunity to welcome me to SmackDown, considering the fact that I was the first round draft pick. No big deal. Yeah, it is.
And LA says, you know what? You're right. That is a big deal. I'm thinking about it now, and I don't know if I agree with this necessarily, but a lot of people look at me and they say, there are certain things about you that reminds me of Tom Brady. And I say, okay, maybe you're right, but let's say that is right. Who was the first draft pick the year Tom Brady was selected? Yeah, I don't know the name either. That's your first mistake. Second is looking past Randy Orton.
So Mello interrupts and says, okay, since we're talking about the semis, after tonight, the most important letters in WWE won't be RKO. They'll be HIM.
And then LA Knight says, look at that. Look who won the spelling bee with nobody saying, because nobody's got to say that stupid crap. I tell you what, you want to hear something? You want to hear something for real? How about this? With everybody saying, so of course the crowd says LA Knight. Yeah. And then he tells Mello, now go play somewhere, I'm busy.
It's hard to come back to these boomer insults from LA Knight. He won the spelling bee with nobody saying, ouch. That one kind of hurt.
It did.
I like that he says, people say that I remind them of Tom Brady. I'm like, because you're old?
I know, because you're the same age.
Did your sports brain activate when he said who was the first draft pick when Tom?
Yeah,
Brady
but I
was
was like, I don't want to put that much thought into it.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I don't know who it is either, but I'm not
2001, I believe.
Yeah, it'd been 2001. Yeah.
If I think hard enough, I might be able to remember what to do with the first pick in 2001.
There you go, a new pop quiz. Anyways, after that we had Tommy Tonga versus LA Knight. Yeah, of course, bloodline match, which means bloodline distractions. And in this case, let's see here. So Tonga Loa. Okay, so LA Knight's calling for a billionaire finger trap. Tonga Loa pulls Tama out of the ring. Knight hits Loa with a wrecking ball drop kick and gets in Solo's face. He rolls back into the ring, and then Tama hits Knight with his big flatliner finish thing.
What do you think about LA Knight's thing he does when he sets up for the BFT? He does this.
Oh, it's fine. It's so old school, you know? It's so, but it works. Like, he's just that perfect encapsulation of, like, I don't know, all the old wrestling tropes, and he just pulls it off so well. So I'm cool with it. It's all
You're
good.
into it.
Mm-hmm.
You're
I
into
like
it.
LA Knight.
Yeah. So then he's walking backstage, LA Knight is. He's complaining a little Nate about how his match went. And he walks past Mello, and Mello says to him, you couldn't get the job done. And Knight says, you're still talking? Yeah, that's cool, man. I really appreciate it. It's really sarcastic. And then he pushes Mello. So they start arguing while little Nate's just trying to keep them apart.
Yeah, man. I'll celebrate when LA Knight wins that U.S. title. I think that'll be cool.
You going to pop huge?
Oh, big pop. Big pop for me.
When
do you think that shit's going to happen?
Oh, probably SummerSlam.
SummerSlam?
Well, maybe not, because that's in Cleveland. I don't know if they want Logan Paul to go over in his hometown.
Maybe it depends on, because even if he tries to cut heel promos there, they're still going to cheer the guy.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Is it insane to think that it's entirely possible that when that match happens, Logan Paul is going to bring LA Knight to a really good match? So far it's been like, hey, Logan Paul, really good wrestler, knows what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
But you put him in there with somebody really good, then you're going to get a really good match.
Yeah.
LA Knight's never been like match guy, so I wonder if it's going to be Logan Paul leading the way these days.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know.
This was a really long contract signing.
Oh, it was.
We're not going to go over it because we already talked about it, but basically, Cody, under the wrong impression that it's going to be title for title. Logan Paul has his lawyer and his crew there, and he's like, no, I got the contract right here, and this is what's going to do. It's already signed. It's done. Nick, get this done. Have your guy sign it. And Nick Aldis gets mad. So Cody,
everybody was under the impression that it was going to be title for title.
They were under the wrong impression it was going to be title for title. Logan throws the contract to Cody because Cody dismisses Aldis. He's like, you know what? You've done what you could do here, but I'm Cody Rhodes.
Like, wow. That was like Nick Aldis is Cody's boss. It'd be like, you've done your best, Nick. I got it from here.
He's boss and title only, man.
It's pretty dismissive.
Pretty dismissive, but it makes sense. Anyways, he's Cody Rhodes. So Cody ends up signing the contract. Logan takes a swing at him. Cody ducks, sends him out of the ring. Then Cody powerbombs one of Logan's dudes through a table. Cody picks up the Undisputed Championship and the U.S. title. He holds up his title, then throws the U.S. title to Logan.
Because last week he held up both the titles. He had both.
I guess, WWEshop.com, $500. If he really wants one of those.
Oh, Cody can get his own U.S. title. Yeah.
Well, if he beats him, he could be like, hey, I'm the lineal champion or whatever they call it, Be like, I beat that guy, so here's mine. I always like when they have two dudes rolling around with. I was thinking about the other day. I was like, man, I miss when Collision had CM Punk as the real world's champion for the 3 weeks that was a thing.
Yeah, that didn't last very long, did it?
No, sir.
No. So then we have a Nia Jax interview. So Kathy asked, hey, what's your response to what Jade said earlier? And Nia says Jade has to hype herself up. She's strong and she's impressive, and she is not going to be the next queen of the ring. I'm going to be the new queen of the ring. And then she walks as her music hits and makes her entrance. Because that match is next. Nia taking on Jade Cargill. We went over the finish already to a degree, but it was basically them just trying to hit power moves on each other early on. Eventually, Nia beels Jade towards the barricade, and as Jade kind of pulls herself up using the barricade, her daughter's there. And then so Nia grabs Jade and kind of flings her out of the way and then says to Jade's daughter, your mom sucks. Ew. So she turns around, Jade hits her with a super kick, and then Nia pushes Jade into the barricade. And you're right, if it's a situation where Nia said that to her daughter, and that's what made Jade kind of just lose it for a moment and hit Nia with the chair, all right, one leads to the other, get it. Mm-hmm, yeah. But then it went on for a bit before that happened.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So Nia actually puts Jade back in the ring. Jade shoulder tackles her back to the floor, and then she starts bouncing Nia's head off the announce table, then the apron. Nia sends her in the ring post, clotheslines her into the timekeeper area, flings her back over the barricade to ringside, picks up a chair, and that's when she takes a swing. Jade blocks, hits Nia with it. Nia wins by DQ.
Yeah.
So then they're brawling. They're tumbled back over towards the ringside area. Eventually, security, producers, refs, they come out to try to break it up.
Crowd's like, let them fight, which is a good sign. It's like, okay, they're engaged, they're into it.
Yeah, they're invested in the brawl,
Yeah. After
then we
that,
got We are DIY. They got the Regeneration X graphic, and it's just
they need to
it's not working, man.
I mean, having them win, that's good. They took on Berto and Angel. Waller and Theory were decent on commentary. Yeah. It just feels like the tag division and on Raw, both tag divisions, they just lack meat. They lack story. They lack, thought. Like DIY, they just come off like video game characters. Not a lot going on there.
I know. Not a lot. No. They get the win, though. Santos and Elektra Lopez try to interfere. In fact, Elektra actually knocks Gargano off the top rope, but then the ref tosses them from ringside, and DIY hit Berto with meat in the middle to get the win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are. So during that match, we had one of those QR code things. And over the weekend on WWE's Twitch channel, Corey Graves pointed out, and they ran a little bit of this. There was like a therapist session between the therapists from those old skits they used to do and seemingly, I guess, Uncle Howdy. But as Corey Graves said, leaves more questions than answers. There you go, a little Uncle Howdy thing. Not sure when this is going to sort of be fully revealed, but it seems like they're working to it anyways.
Yeah. Then we got an AJ Styles interview. Byron asked him, where do you go from here? And he pretty much recounts how close he was to beating Cody, how close he was to beating Randy Orton. And he says, where do I go from here? Next week, I'm going to Nick Aldis's office, and we'll find out where I go from here.
So AJ has said that he wants to be a big bad guy. So I don't know, going to Nick Aldis's office, what can he do to achieve that goal?
Is he going to attack Nick Aldis in his office and put his head through a window or something like that?
Maybe. Oh, that could be. Yeah.
I don't know.
And then Nick Aldis is about to fight him. And Cody's like, Nick, it's okay. You can go home. I got this. Cody's new thing is just dismissing Nick Aldis.
Yeah, I know. And then AJ's like, Nick Aldis, he's not GM anymore. I'm GM now. And you got heel authority figure on SmackDown.
Perfect. Yeah, people will boo that one.
Yeah, you got that right.
Anyways, after that, we had a Bayley interview. Byron asked her about her Queen of the Ring pick after Jade was eliminated. She's like, now we got Nia and Bianca. But then Bayley stops as Chelsea and Piper step in, and Piper acts like she's sleeping. She's bored. And Chelsea says, wake up. Bayley's done speaking. You and Miss Bayley are reasons that Piper lost last week because you sprinkled your bad Bayley juju all over us. Bayley's like, you know what? We don't actually have time to talk right now, so let's talk next week, okay? Let's talk in the ring. That sounds good. I'll see you next week. And then Bayley laughs and leaves.
Yep. And then we got our main event, Randall Keith Orton taking on Carmelo Hayes. They're kind of doing a similar thing with Orton they're doing with Bianca, in that he's got a knee injury that his opponents are targeting throughout this tournament. Carmelo did the same. There was a funny bit early on where Melo takes a shot at Randy's leg and then slaps in the back of the head.
Yeah.
And then Orton just starts unloading on him. Eventually, Melo turns the tables, but misses nothing but net. Orton hits a draping DDT, calls for an RKO. Melo evades that, rolls up Randy, gets a 2, and then Melo's looking for a springboard. Orton hits the RKO then to get the win. Afterwards, Kathy Kelly gets in the ring to interview Randy, but Tama Tonga's music hits. Bloodline make their way to the stage. Orton says, hold on, you mean to tell me right now the Bloodline is going to come out and try to intimidate me? Ladies and gentlemen, maybe the Bloodline forgot who I exactly am. Let me reintroduce myself. My name is Randy Keith Orton. You didn't say Randall Keith Orton. You should have, though. Yeah, it says, I'm a 14-time world champion and soon to be king of the ring. And since we're doing introductions, Tama, next week, Saudi Arabia, I'm going to introduce my foot directly up your ass. Following that, I will reintroduce you to the 3 most dangerous, deadly letters in sports entertainment, and that's RKO.
Anyways, let's take a look here at WWE.com and see if there's a Raw. Oh, there is a Raw preview.
So I clicked preview on .com, and before the show, it was saying I couldn't go to the actual preview page. Now I can. There's only 3 things announced here on .com. Of course, you got Jey Uso looking to take down Gunther.
Ooh, King of the Ring, man, internet's not going to be happy when Jey Uso beats Gunther tonight.
Not at all. You think they're upset when he beat Ilya? By a factor of 10.
Yeah, you haven't seen nothing. Oof.
Sami Zayn looks for payback against Chad Gable. They're supposed to have a match tonight. Maybe. They got that triple threat at King and Queen of the Ring.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's not gonna. They're not gonna. Is
Bronson Reed's gonna interfere?
Is he bringing back the electric chair?
That's a good question.
Should.
And then Lyra Valkyria takes on Io Sky and Queen of the Ring semifinal.
That'll be a good one.
Final.
That'll be a really good one.
Anyways, good matches.
Let's go ahead and answer some questions, Larson.
Let's answer some questions. Cat Dad 7 says, no wrestling question today. Just want to know how our dogs are doing. Cat Dad 7 asks, how the dogs doing? Dogs doing fine.
So mine, you can see, she's right there. She's actually laying on her bed.
Oh.
Yeah. So she's doing well. She's doing good. She's actually doing a lot better because I got her. I've been doing those. She had her second monthly shot of Librella, I think it's called. And it's supposed to help with her joints because she's old. And it's been working pretty well so far. So
that's great to hear.
Between that and some of the other meds she's on, she's doing pretty good. We yell at each other a lot. She was like, yeah, I'd say spry. Yeah. No, she's doing well. She's doing good. David Matushek here says, now that the "that doesn't work for me" card was pulled, do you think that was the reason for the WrestleMania XL Docs postponement? So we didn't really talk about that, but the last we heard, it was awaiting approval from The Rock. But did you say like Brian Gewirtz disputed that?
Yeah, Brian Gewirtz in that same interview on the Ringer wrestling show was like, no, that's not the case. So,
wow. You know, it's wrestling. They're gonna fib here and there.
Yeah,
I think it's like our buddy we were talking to the other day when he said there's a lot of clearance that had to be at the top. You know.
Alex Foster here says Larson, since you've known Steve and longer than just about anyone else, how long until he turns around on Tony D'Angelo?
Oh my God. What would it take? The question is, what would it take? It's not a matter of like, oh, it's inevitable.
Because I think the possibility is there that it definitely could happen.
Yeah, sure. It totally could happen.
And I think it could happen with the same character. I just don't think there's a whole lot of consistency with how the character is implemented as in regards to, is he Don of NXT, so does his criminal empire exist solely within the Performance Center? Does it extend beyond that? And if it does, why is he bothered being a wrestler?
Yeah. The wrestling itself would also have to step up considerably.
But I feel like if the character was more intriguing to you, you could look past the wrestling a little bit. If you found his presence on TV entertaining,
yeah, that's true.
You would be like, I'm not, you wouldn't worry about the in-ring aspect so much.
I'm a ways off from that though. I really am. I have no problem turning around on somebody. I don't get stuck in the mud on my opinions. Speaking of dogs, she's up. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what it would take. He'd have to be compelling in some way, shape, or form to me. And right now he's just confusing and comes off as kind of like a mafia cosplayer, which...
Yes. It's not convincing in that role whatsoever. Because I don't feel like there's any consistency in terms of how his character is presented.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Timor here says, let's say the pivot didn't happen. What matches do you think we would have seen at Backlash? Let's say they did Rock Roman at WrestleMania.
Oh, wow. I don't even know. I mean, like Roman would have won that, I guess. I mean, there was that weird thing that I think Meltzer had about like one of the ideas was Rock would beat Roman for the title, then vacate the title, and his People's Championship would be his title. And I don't know how far that would have gone out of the idea.
Again, it makes no sense. It makes zero sense.
Yes, and I still don't know what Cody was going to do at WrestleMania.
I know, because it was supposed to be Punk and Seth had Punk not gotten hurt. Yeah. So if Punk had not gotten hurt,
yeah,
at the Rumble, that would have been the match for the World Heavyweight Championship. Cody would have voluntarily given up his spot to The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
Then what does Cody do?
Yeah, I don't know. That's weird.
Or the other one was that they were before they apparently agreed to do the Cody will step aside, it was gonna be the Bloodline attacks Cody. Yeah. And writes him off for WrestleMania.
That doesn't
do
make
the
any
attack.
Sense.
They're not going to have a WrestleMania without Cody on there.
Yeah, I know.
What? Oh shit! Would have been a thing if they wrote Cody off because of a brutal attack at the hands of the Bloodline, only for Cody to make his lone mini appearance to help The Rock beat Roman.
I was just thinking that too. Yeah, that'd have been horrible. That'd have been terrible. Boy, that would have been bad. That would have been WrestleMania 9 levels of bad.
I know. Oof. Jimmy Thomas says, who is the wrestler that if someone said they didn't like, you would view that as a red flag? Bryan Danielson.
I don't like this person.
I mean, honestly, I don't think there is. I don't take wrestling that seriously.
Depends on what kind of red flag it is. Like, red flag is kind of a loaded.
It is, and that's why it's.
If somebody were to say, yeah, I'm not a fan of.
If someone said, oh, I don't like Bryan Danielson, I'd just be like, why?
Because
he can put on a good match with anybody. He's convincing as a face or a heel. Like, he can do everything really well.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, okay, so everybody's. I feel like everybody has at least one legitimate reason why people wouldn't like them. Like I feel like even, and off the top of my head, with Danielson, I don't know. I could probably think of one. With Bianca, she wins too much. She wins all of her match. She's too overpowered. I understand. It's like the Cena thing. I understand that. I don't agree with it. I love Bianca. I think she's amazing.
Yeah, she's great.
But like, I get that. I'm trying to think of somebody who's like, wait, what? Okay, so this is a different thing, but Clown kind of has it. Anybody who says they miss Vince McMahon.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, okay, can you appreciate his work in the 90s, and like the late 90s, like the Mr. McMahon thing? Sure. Okay, get that. Totally makes sense. It was a great feud. But anything he's done on camera lately? No, man, I don't know what you're looking at. I don't know what you're watching right now because it's horrible.
Yeah. No, that's
then you compound that with what we know about him in real life, or what's been alleged in the lawsuit, I should say. Then it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing now, right now?
Yeah. 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 By and large for wrestlers, it's like, all right, you don't like him. Not a huge deal. Like, because you said there's, wrestling is incredibly subjective, and there's aspects of wrestling that I really enjoy. Some people won't. That's fine. I'm not going to take issue with it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But a situation, we mentioned with Vince where he brings nothing to the product on television plus everything else. Yeah.
Like, even, I mean, Danielson's a good example, but even Danielson, like, I've seen people say, in the comments or whatever, it's like, I'm kind of bored of Danielson. I feel like he does the same shtick. I get it. Same thing people say with Mox. I get it. Like, I get that stuff. So it's like, I understand why pretty much every wrestler would have kind of a knock on them in some way, shape, or form. I don't know about that. Let's see here. Elemental Giant says, since we're not getting Jade versus Bianca and Ilya versus Gunther in King of the Ring, when are we going to get those matches? Ilya Gunther's a WrestleMania match, man. I think they need to wait until WrestleMania for that shit.
Jade and Bianca could be too with the right story.
I agree with that as well.
What a great name. Thanasis Valkyria.
What a great name.
Not a wrestling question, and I don't know if this is what I can actually answer. I have to think about this. What is your Mount Rushmore of movies that are so bad they're good?
My Mount Rushmore. Yeesh. Boy, that's kind of a tough. So bad that it's good? Man, I don't know. I don't consider myself a snob, Larson. I don't know that I know of a movie that's so bad. Like, people are like, oh, The Room, right? I mean, taking my own sensibilities out of it, like The Room would be on there.
Yeah.
Right. But like
Troll 2.
Yeah, right. Troll 2.
White Brownie says Southland Tales. For you.
I find Southland. Boy, I can't wait to see this Coppola movie. Because, dude, it's got like Southland Tales potential, but maybe not.
The trailer.
But maybe not.
The reviews have been all over the place. People either like it or
all
loathe
over
it.
the map. All over the map. Yeah, I can't wait to see that. But I'll be honest, man, I don't know that I'm into, like, I don't know that there's movies that I'm like, oh my God, this is hilariously entertaining because it's so bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what movie was on Pluto TV this morning that I flipped on it because I never saw it because everything about it looked so annoying back when it came out. Hackers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I watched about 20 minutes of it. And it's so fucking bad from top to bottom.
Very 90s, too. It's very 90s.
In the worst way possible.
Like the energy.
Yeah. 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 Our Zoom connection is struggling hardcore right now. I can tell you're on that dope delay right now, the Caljack delay. So that's going to do it for the show. Thanks everybody for hanging out, because Hilton's really on my ass right now saying, dude, the Zoom call's not working. So Maggie says, I loved Hackers. I recently watched it the first time. That movie's so bad. Anyways, Hilton's bugging us right now, so we're gonna call it a day. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Appreciate it. Till next time, we'll see you around.
Goodbye.